Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life, by Jordan B. Peterson. Introduction. In February of 2020, a man awoke in an intensive care unit in Moscow. He didn't know where he was. He was tied to the bed with 6-inch tethers, because in his unconscious state, he had been trying to pull the catheters from his arms. The voices around him were foreign, and he had almost no memory of the weeks leading up to that moment. He was confused, angry, and felt betrayed. That man was Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, one of the most influential public intellectuals of our time. And the story of how he ended up in that Russian hospital, fighting for his life, is woven into the very fabric of the book we're exploring today, Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life. This isn't just a sequel to his monumental bestseller, 12 Rules for Life, which sold millions of copies and launched a global phenomenon. That book was famously subtitled An Antidote to Chaos. It was a guide for those whose lives had fallen apart, a manual for bringing order to the disarray. It famously told people to start by cleaning their room. But Beyond Order asks a different, more dangerous question. What happens after you've cleaned your room? What happens when the rules you've built your life on become a cage? What do you do when the greatest threat isn't chaos, but the crushing weight of too much order? While writing this book, Peterson's own life was plunged into a series of catastrophic events. His wife of 30 years, Tammy, was diagnosed with an extremely rare and fatal form of cancer. His daughter, Michaela, underwent a difficult surgery to replace a failing artificial ankle. And in the midst of this family turmoil, Peterson himself descended into a living hell, a severe physical dependence on a prescribed anti-anxiety medication that led to a paradoxical reaction, unbearable suffering, and a medically induced coma in a foreign land. He wrote and edited this book while passing through that fire. He tested its ideas not in the quiet comfort of a professor's office, but in the sterile, beeping chaos of ICUs and rehabilitation centers, where he had to relearn how to walk and even how to type. So, what you're about to hear isn't just a collection of self-help advice. It's a philosophy forged in the crucible of suffering. It's a map for navigating the treacherous territory that lies beyond what we know, beyond the safety of our routines, beyond order. By the end of our journey today, you will understand the profound secret that lies at the heart of this book, that the deepest meaning in life is not found in safety and security, but on the terrifying frontier between order and chaos, and that the greatest opportunities are often hidden where responsibility has been abandoned. This is a guide for the hero that lies dormant within you, waiting for the call to adventure. Book summary. To truly understand the world Dr. Peterson lays out in Beyond Order, you have to first understand that you're living inside a story. You might not know it, but you are. Your life isn't just a sequence of random events, it's a drama. You are a character, on a journey. You are somewhere, and you are going somewhere. And the world you experience is made of 3 fundamental elements. Imagine the world as a great, ancient map. On that map, there are 2 vast domains, order and chaos. Order is the territory, you know. It's your home, your family, your traditions, your routines. It's where your actions produce the results you expect. When you turn the key in your car, it starts. That's order. It's the comfort of the predictable, the safety of the known. In our great myths, this is often symbolized by the wise king, the benevolent father, the protective walls of the city. It's culture itself, the structure that shields us from the harsh realities of the world. But all order has its flaws. It can become rigid, outdated, and blind. When taken too far, the wise king becomes the authoritarian tyrant, and the protective walls become a prison. This is the danger of too much security, too much control. Then there is chaos. Chaos is the great unknown. It's the unexplored territory beyond the map's edge. It's the unexpected event, the car that won't start, the sudden illness, the job loss. It is anomaly, novelty, and transformation. In our myths, chaos is often portrayed as a great dragon, a monster of the deep, or the destructive, untamed power of nature. It is terrifying, because it can undo everything you've built, but it's also the source of everything new, exciting, and full of potential. Without it, life stagnates and dies. Peterson argues that a meaningful life is found not by choosing one and rejecting the other, but by standing on the razor's edge right between them. We need to have one foot firmly planted in order, while we stretch the other tentatively into the chaos of the unknown. That is the place of adventure, learning, and profound meaning. The third element is you, the individual, the conscious mind that mediates between these two great forces. You are the hero of your own story, the one who must confront the chaos and turn it into habitable order. But how do you become a hero, especially when you feel small, confused, or lost? Peterson's first rule in this new set gives us a surprising starting point. Do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or creative achievement. This sounds conservative, and in a way, it is, but it's rooted in a deep psychological truth. He tells the story of a client he had for years, a man who was profoundly lonely and isolated. His childhood was a nightmare of neglect, and as an adult, he had no family ties and struggled with social interaction. For over a decade, their sessions followed a strange pattern. The client would talk for 50 minutes, and Peterson would just listen intently, in total silence. Only in the last 10 minutes could they have a real conversation. Why did this work? Because, as Peterson realized, we don't think in a vacuum. We think by talking. We need to articulate our past, our present, and our future to others to keep our own minds organized. When you talk, you listen to yourself, and you begin to sort through the chaos in your head. Other people, by listening, nodding, or raising an eyebrow, act as mirrors. They constantly give you subtle cues that keep you on the straight and narrow path of sanity. In a very real sense, Peterson says, we outsource the problem of sanity to the people around us. Those people make up our social institutions, our families, our friendships, our workplaces. These structures have evolved over thousands of years to solve the fundamental problems of life. To dismiss them carelessly, as if they are nothing but oppressive patriarchal constructs, is the height of ignorance and ingratitude. They are flawed, yes, but they are also the ship that keeps us afloat on the chaotic sea. To find your place, you must often start at the bottom. The tarot deck has a card for this. The Fool. He's a young man, about to step off a cliff, but his eyes are lifted to the heavens. His strength is his willingness to be a beginner, to risk being foolish in order to learn. No one who is unwilling to be a fool can ever become a master. Peterson shares the story of a young waiter who approached him in a restaurant. The young man said he'd been watching Peterson's lectures and had decided to stop being cynical about his low-status job. Instead, he decided to be grateful and to work as hard as he possibly could, to see what would happen. The result? He was promoted 3 times in 6 months. He had accepted his role as a beginner, embraced the structure he was in, and found opportunity where he had previously only seen pride-wounding limitation. But order, tradition, and hierarchy are not enough. They can become stagnant and tyrannical. That's why they must be balanced by the second element, creative achievement. And this brings us to what is perhaps the most central rule of the book. Imagine who you could be, and then aim single-mindedly at that. Who could you be? You are more complex than you can understand, filled with a potential that transcends your own imagination. To guide us toward this potential, humanity has, for millennia, told stories. These aren't just for entertainment. The great myths, the unforgettable stories, are maps. They are distilled wisdom about the ideal personality, the hero, and the path that hero must walk. They speak to something we know, but don't know that we know. Peterson takes us on a deep dive into one of the oldest hero myths we have, the 4,000-year-old Mesopotamian story, the Enuma Elish. It begins with Tiamat, the dragon goddess of salt water and chaos, and her husband Apsu, the god of fresh water and order. Their union creates the first gods, who are noisy, impulsive, and careless. In their thoughtlessness, they kill their father, Apsu. This enrages Tiamat, and chaos itself rises up to destroy her children. The gods are terrified. One after another, they try to face her, and all fail. Finally, they turn to a young, promising new god, Marduk. Marduk is special. He is born with eyes all around his head. He can see everywhere. And he can speak magic words. He represents the highest of human values. careful attention and truthful, effective speech. Marduk agrees to face the dragon of chaos, but only if the other gods agree that, should he win, he will become their ultimate king. He confronts Tiamat, defeats her, and from her dismembered body, he creates the heavens and the earth. He brings a new, higher order out of the chaotic abyss. This story, Peterson explains, is a blueprint for your own life. When the order in your life is carelessly destroyed, the terrible forces of chaos will reemerge. At that point, a hero, that part of you representing your highest values, must arise to confront that chaos voluntarily. That hero is the part of you that pays attention, even to what is terrifying, and speaks the truth. That is how you create habitable order out of the mess of your life. This same pattern appears everywhere. It's the story of St. George slaying the dragon to rescue the maiden. It's Bilbo in The Hobbit facing the dragon Smaug. It's even Harry Potter, a modern hero, descending into the Chamber of Secrets to face a giant serpent, a basilisk, to save Ginny. In that story, Harry is bitten by the basilisk and dies, only to be revived by the magical tears of a phoenix. The phoenix is a mythical bird that can die and be reborn from its own ashes. It is a symbol of transformation. The story tells us something profound. To defeat the great dragons of life, a part of you must die. The old, naive, outdated parts of your personality must be shed, often painfully, so that a new, stronger, wiser self can emerge. This is the journey of aiming at who you could be. You pick the best target you can imagine, the highest good you can conceive, and you stumble toward it. You will make mistakes. You will fall short, but you will learn. And as you learn, you will refine your aim. You will transform. But what if you don't know where to aim? What if the past is holding you back? This brings us to another set of powerful rules. Do not hide unwanted things in the fog, and if old memories still upset you, write them down carefully and completely. Many of us live surrounded by a self-imposed fog. We refuse to think about our problems, our failures, our deepest desires. Why? Because if you know precisely what you want, you will also know precisely when you are failing to get it, and that knowledge is painful. So you keep things vague. You drift. But, Peterson warns, you cannot hit a target you refuse to see. He tells a simple, funny story about his father-in-law, a man who for 20 years ate his lunch off of small bread and butter plates without saying a word. Then one day, he snapped, "Why in the world do we always eat off these tiny plates?" His wife had no idea it bothered him. It seems trivial, but Peterson points out that life is what repeats. If a small irritation happens every single day, it's not small. It's your life. Collect 1,000 of those unaddressed minor irritations, and your life becomes a misery. A more tragic story is that of a client whose husband dominated every aspect of their home life. He chose all the showy, uncomfortable furniture and filled the walls with pop art she despised. For decades, she never said a word, telling herself it wasn't worth fighting about. But with each unspoken disagreement, she became less and less present in her own home, in her own marriage, until she felt like a stranger. The marriage eventually ended after 30 years. She avoided the small battles and lost the entire war. The lesson is clear. Have the damn fight. It's better to face the conflict and clear the air than to let unspoken resentment build up like a poison. But what about the truly terrible things? The old memories that still ambush you with fear, shame, or guilt? Peterson explains that when a memory still has a powerful negative emotional charge, it means your brain has flagged it as a place where you fell into a pit, and you still don't know how to avoid it in the future. The memory haunts you because there is vital, life-saving information trapped within it that you haven't yet extracted. The way to do this, he suggests, is to write about it, carefully and completely. He describes a client, a young man who had a psychotic break after being viciously bullied in college. He could barely speak. Peterson had him use a writing program to break his life into epics and describe the key events, positive and negative. As the young man wrote and talked through the details of his torment, something miraculous happened. His psychotic symptoms receded. He became more articulate. He put himself back together by transforming the raw horror of his past into an understood narrative. He mapped the unexplored, dangerous territory of his own memory and, in doing so, freed himself from its ghosts. This brings us to the heart of Peterson's message, the idea that brought audiences around the world to a dead quiet halt, the idea of responsibility. This is embodied in the rule, notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. Many people think the meaning of life is to be found in happiness. Peterson disagrees. Happiness is fleeting. It's a right-now thing. A more reliable source of positive emotion comes not from attaining a goal, but from the pursuit of a valuable goal. It's the sense of moving forward, of making progress. And what gives a goal its value? The amount of responsibility you're willing to take on to achieve it. He says, no happiness in the absence of responsibility. If you want to become invaluable in a workplace, or in any community, just do the useful things no one else is doing. Don't wait to be asked. See a problem that's been neglected, a responsibility that's been abdicated, and make it yours. It's often the difficult, risky, necessary things that hold the most meaning. He tells the ancient Egyptian story of Osiris, the great king who established culture but then grew old and willfully blind. He ignored the scheming of his evil brother, Set, who eventually murdered him, cut his body into pieces, and scattered them across the land. The kingdom fell into chaos and tyranny. It was Osiris's son, Horus, the falcon-headed god whose defining feature is his all-seeing eye, who rose to the challenge. Horus voluntarily confronted his evil uncle, defeated him, and restored order. But he didn't stop there. He journeyed into the underworld, found the shattered spirit of his dead father, and gave him his own eye, restoring his father's vision. This is a profound metaphor. Rescuing your father from the belly of the beast means revitalizing the traditions and wisdom of the past that have become dead, broken, or corrupt. It means taking on the responsibility that your predecessors abdicated and breathing new life into the culture. That is where the deepest meaning is found. It's not in ease. It's in struggle. It's in shouldering a heavy load. As Peterson puts it, you positively need to be occupied with something weighty, deep, profound, and difficult. This voluntary acceptance of responsibility is the ultimate antidote to the three great temptations that lead to a life of misery: resentment, deceit, and arrogance. This is the focus of Rule 11. Do not allow yourself to become resentful, deceitful, or arrogant. Life is suffering. That's a truth found in almost every major religion. You will be betrayed. You will get sick. People you love will die. The world is often unjust. It's easy, almost logical, to become resentful. Resentment whispers in your ear, you are a victim. Life has been unfair to you. You are justified in your anger, in your desire for revenge. This feeling, this sense of victimization, is the gateway to two other evils. The first is deceit. When you feel the world has wronged you, you start to believe you are justified in bending the rules, in lying to get what you feel you are owed. The second is arrogance. It's the arrogance of believing that your suffering is unique and that it gives you the right to judge and condemn the very structure of being itself. It's the arrogance of the liar who thinks he can twist reality to his own will and get away with it. This triad, resentment, deceit, is the path to hell. It's the philosophy of Cain, who murdered his brother Abel out of jealousy. It's the philosophy of the high school shooter who decides that existence itself is flawed and deserves to be punished. How do you resist this? First, you must abandon ideology. That's Rule 6. Ideologies like Marxism, fascism, or any other rigidism are dangerous because they provide simple, low-resolution answers to complex problems. They divide the world neatly into heroes and villains, the oppressed and the oppressor. They give you a group to blame for all your problems, which is a perfect breeding ground for resentment and self-righteous hatred. An ideologue sacrifices their individual conscience for the certainty of a group identity. Instead of adopting an ideology, Peterson urges you to follow your own conscience. This is the heart of Rule 5. Do not do what you hate. He tells the story of a client, an immigrant from a former Soviet bloc country, who worked in a large corporation. She was forced to participate in an absurd, time-wasting debate about whether the term flip chart was offensive. This seemingly trivial nonsense was deeply demoralizing for her. It was a violation of her conscience, forcing her to participate in something she knew was stupid and hateful. To act contrary to your own deepest values is to betray yourself. It shatters your soul and weakens your resolve. Instead of quitting her job, she found a way to fight back. She began giving talks at corporate conferences, using her position to debunk the popular but baseless pseudoscience, like learning styles, that her company promoted. She found a way to stand up for the truth, even in a small way, and in doing so, fortified her own spirit. Finally, to guard against the bitterness of life, we must cultivate two final virtues: an appreciation for beauty and a sense of gratitude. This leads us to the last rules we'll explore. Try to make one room in your home as beautiful as possible, and be grateful in spite of your suffering. As we grow up, Peterson says, we stop seeing the world. We replace perception with pragmatic memory. A child on a walk is endlessly fascinated by a crack in the sidewalk, an ant, a shiny rock. An adult on the same walk is just trying to get from point A to point B, filtering out all the unnecessary details. We lose the visionary gleam of childhood, the ability to see the world appareled in celestial light. Art, he argues, is the antidote to this blindness. A great piece of art is a window into the transcendent. It reconnects us to the wonder of being that we've forgotten. Making one room in your home beautiful, whether with a piece of art, a fresh coat of paint, or just by arranging things with care, is not a luxury. It's an act of defiance against the drabness and misery of life. It's an invitation to the divine. And this leads to the final, and perhaps most difficult rule. How can you be grateful in spite of your suffering? It's not about being naive or pretending that things aren't terrible. True gratitude is only possible when you have looked into the darkness, when you understand how fragile and tragic life can be, and yet you still choose to see the good. Gratitude is a courageous act. It's a decision to focus on what you have, rather than what you've lost. It's remembering to treat your family and friends well, knowing they could be gone in an instant. It's appreciating the incredible gift of the society you live in, built on the sacrifices of countless generations before you. Peterson concludes that grief itself is the ultimate proof of love, and therefore a reason for gratitude. When you lose someone you love, the pain you feel is an uncontrollable, involuntary testament to the value of that person's life. Your grief is a declaration, from the deepest part of your being, that their existence, despite all its flaws and limitations, was worthwhile. And if their life was worthwhile, then perhaps being itself is worthwhile, despite all its suffering. That is the final defiant stand against the resentment that threatens to consume us. It is the decision to love being, despite its terror and betrayal. It is to find the strength to say, in the face of everything, onward and upward. Commentary. So, what do we take away from this profound and challenging journey beyond order? If 12 Rules for Life was about building a lifeboat in the middle of a storm, Beyond Order is about learning to navigate the open ocean. It's a book that acknowledges the hard-won truth that the rules that save you can also, eventually, imprison you. Life isn't just about creating order, it's about the dynamic, living dance between order and chaos. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the radical reframing of responsibility. In our culture, we often think of responsibility as a burden, a chore, something to be avoided if possible. Peterson turns this idea completely on its head. He argues, with incredible force, that responsibility is the very source of a meaningful life. It's not something you have to do, it's something you get to do. It's the opportunity to pick up a heavy load and discover, to your own amazement, that you are strong enough to carry it. The meaning of your life is not something you find. It's something you build by confronting the dragons at the edge of the map. This book is also a powerful reminder of the danger of simplistic, ideological thinking. In a world of polarized politics and social media outrage, it's incredibly tempting to adopt a simple story that divides the world into us and them, good guys and bad guys. Peterson shows us that this is a spiritual trap. The true line between good and evil runs down the center of every human heart. The only way to make the world a better place is to start with the person in the mirror, to abandon ideology and instead follow the quiet, insistent voice of your own conscience. So, how can you start applying these ideas today? First, take a moment to notice a small, abdicated responsibility in your own life. It could be a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, a mess you've been ignoring, or a promise you haven't kept. Instead of seeing it as a chore, try seeing it as an opportunity. Take it on voluntarily. See what happens. Second, try to make one small corner of your world beautiful. It doesn't have to be a whole room. It could be your desk, the dashboard of your car, just one shelf. Organize it, clean it, and place one thing on it that you find genuinely beautiful. Make it a small sanctuary of order and beauty in the midst of the everyday chaos. Finally, practice gratitude in the face of a daily frustration. When something goes wrong today, and it will, take a moment before you react. Think about something, anything, you're grateful for, despite that frustration. It could be the air in your lungs, a person you love, or simply the fact that you have the strength to face the problem. This isn't about ignoring the negative, it's about courageously choosing to see the good that coexists with it. That was our deep dive into Beyond Order by Jordan B. Peterson. We've journeyed through the core principles today, but I'll be honest with you. A summary can only take you so far. The real magic happens when you engage with the book yourself. It's in the quiet moments when one of Peterson's ancient stories or a particular turn or phrase connects with a deep part of your own experience. This summary is a map, but the treasure is found on the journey. If anything we've discussed has sparked something within you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning. It's an experience that can genuinely fortify your soul for the adventures that lie ahead. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to continue exploring the ideas in the world's most transformative books, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Billionaire's Bookshelf. It helps us reach more people who, like you, are on a journey to become who they could be. Let's keep growing together.